Hello, I'm Mark,
I'm Casey.
and today we're going to talk about the IIHS and their autopilot tests.
Oh,
But
wonderful
first,
crashes.
let's roll that credit.
You're watching the Tesla Life Express.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the IIHS, which of course is the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. They recently did a test on autopilot. What they did is they got together 14. Yes, I said 14, not 1400, just 14 drivers that they were able to provide them with a Tesla and with autopilot ability in those cars, and they had them drive a month and required them to use autopilot whenever available over that month because they wanted to see how drivers behaved leading up to, during, and after reminders that the system prompts them with when they're lacking focus at their end of seeing what's happening on the road. So in total, the volunteers drove a little bit more than 12,000 miles with autopilot engaged. And during that time, they triggered 3,858 attention-related warnings from the partial automated system. And about half those alerts occurred when they had at least one hand on the steering wheel, but were apparently not moving it enough to satisfy the torque sensor that's in the wheel to let the system know that you're actually there. So it's a mixed bag with autopilot when it comes to the nag warnings, as
Oh, yes.
Casey knows.
Yes.
It's it's something that over some time you get used to it as to how much tension you need on the wheel for the car to know that you're paying attention, or you can spin the wheels or do other things to let the car know that you're actually there and attentive. And Casey, what did you find out with your rental? What did you see when it came to eye movement?
Well, the rental was useless. It was a Jeep pickup truck. So it's cruise control, which is run through the person in front of you if you didn't pay attention. Uh, but the two loaners I had were 2021 Model 3s. The first one had just very much like the launch edition Model 3, where it just had the bar across the dash. And then the second one had like the Chinese style, where that continued on into the doors. And despite being the same car, one made it from the center to here with a 1 minute supercharge, and the other one made it here with 20% without supercharging. So it gives you an idea of what I was working with as far as age. Like I think one was the beginning of 21, and the one was probably the end of 21, right before they were ready to start practicing with Highland. Uh, but not there are no IR emitters in these cars. So what I found was that uh, there were a couple times where, out of pure habit, because I have a legacy Model X, that I was just grabbing the wheel, and it didn't want that because it was set up for vision. It wanted to see my eyes, and it's pretty darn good, except when it's too dark to see. So then you have a choice of uh, wiggling the wheel, or if it's safe, you can turn on a light somewhere else in the cabin so it can get enough ambient light to look at you. The newer cars don't have this problem. The Palladium, like the Plaid and the long range S and X and the Highland, they've got IR emitters, so they can see you in the dark. So
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about that. I don't think that the current Model Y has that, does it?
Nope.
Okay. So the current Model Y would be like what I experienced, but the next
It'll
level,
probably be the Juniper before it comes there.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to kind of roll this out piece by piece, because you can, but for what they're doing, that would get expensive.
So
And so,
in this IIHS study, they were using a 2020 vehicle. So obviously, there's no eye movement it's looking for. It's strictly the torque
well,
on the wheel. It's
it
strictly
does have it. It goes all the way back to 2017, but you have to have the update that came out like what, last week. So
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
they didn't have access to this. So I'm curious. I'd like to see if they rerun it. They don't even have to have the whole 14 people, but just take a 3 of those people. I'm curious how it will react now with
Yeah.
the eye tracking, because I found that there was a lot less false pay attention to the road, false are you there's than I did even on my car. Like I've got the yoke swapped out on mine, so I can just lay a palm down on the nubbin of the yoke, and it was way better than when it was a circle, as far as the false are you there. And the other than when it couldn't see my eyes, it would say things like, "Hey, you're looking at the screen too much," or uh, one I didn't like. Uh, if there was somebody doing questionable stuff over on my passenger side, and I gave them just too much attention, like lock it on to make sure they're not going to swerve into me or just do some foolishness, the car's like, "Boop boop, look ahead, please." Like, I'm glancing ahead. I'm just glancing because this person is way more of an issue for me right now.
Well,
But
in this study,
yeah,
it was finding that while initial warnings increased by about 26% over the first 4 weeks of these drivers using the system, drivers were started to anticipate and expect escalations, and
yeah,
they fell by 64% in the next week, meaning that they were able to, I guess, expect what was going to happen. So they were paying more attention because the warning system was warning them in a consistent manner and allowed them to adjust their behavior based on those times.
sounds like this happened sometime after the NHTSA and IIHS had made the recommendations to Tesla, and they included it in one of the software update recalls, where it got a little more naggy. And even if it wasn't capable of doing the eye tracking only, we did notice that the folks who surreptitiously pulled out a smartphone, they were suddenly getting a lot more nags. So
Yeah.
our clue that they were almost done with.
Now, with the system alerting the driver that they should be concentrating on driving, there was the downside that the longer that these participants used the system, the less time it took them to remove their hands from the wheel again once the alerts stopped. So if they satisfied the system that they were paying attention, they quickly moved to a position where maybe their hands were off the wheel immediately after the alerts were silenced, and
Right.
this is questionable too. So the IIH admits that this safety impact of these changes is really hard to measure. They're not
Mhm.
really sure how to take the information that they received from these 14 drivers. They certainly identified that even short lapses of attention became so frequent that periods of supported engagement between them have had little value. So it seemed that drivers quickly adjusted to the alerts, and drivers quickly adjusted to be able to turn the alerts off by their attention, but they also went back to fidgeting or not concentrating on the road quickly as well. So this it's kind of a mixed bag of results when it comes to drivers using this system.
Interesting though, because in my Model X, I don't have. There is a camera, but there's not one that Tesla can plug in and see what I'm doing. Although if I could get hands free, I would plug it in for them. The system is it's changed with either the summer update or the one after it. Like if I am driving along, just like them, I know what's going to cause it, and we are in a nice straight and clear area. I'm like, oh, I want to scratch my nose. I go like this. As soon as I lift my hand off, the car's like, hey, where you at? I'll use my other hand. Okay. So I'm wondering if they interacted with Tesla at all, because that change was rather abrupt, and it wasn't at the same time that the Model 3s were getting the attention based. So maybe this was in preparation with that. I don't know, but uh, yeah. So very much like the study show. Not that I was distracted, but like it's like this is clear. It can handle it. I know how it behaves here.
Yeah.
I'm just scratching my nose, and I know exactly how to put my hand back.
And
What I did find with the attention base is I would then either I kind of have my hands like this or in my lap, but underneath the wheel, so I could quickly, because there were a couple times I had to intervene, but they weren't. anywhere near as often as they have it in older versions of the software.
Right.
So I really want to see how they do if they do this again, even if it's with a smaller subset than the 14 people they already
I
have.
think they should go with a larger subset,
That too,
the,
but that's money a month.
14 I don't think is enough, but it
Yeah,
is give them a bit of an idea as to what's going on.
yeah,
And obviously, in this type of a study, they're wanting to get the actual video data to watch what people are doing, not just the car's update from when the human actually
right.
appeases it.
Well,
Um,
the reason that's most interesting to me though is remember when we had all these people not interviewing but rating all these cars, and they'd always mark the Tesla down because it wasn't hands free.
yeah.
Like I'm wondering if these test participants were Model 3 owners and they knew better, or were these just general off the street people who drove the Ford and whatever and were expecting to just go eyes on only? And if so, like, because you said they can't take their hands off. Like if I
Yeah.
keep getting nagged, I'll leave one hand up there so I don't ever hear it again.
That's
And
right. That's right.
uh,
And that's the thing is that if you get nagged constantly by the car, you quickly start to figure out what are the ways to stop get it to nag you. And like you said, hand resting on the wheel or spinning the control knob
yeah,
are ways that people avoid it. To
yeah,
have it
you really
not
want,
nag at
or
you,
you, yeah,
have the screen not flash at you, or
exactly.
if you completely ignore it, get into autopilot jail
Oh, you won't get out of
eventually
jail. I've been
after
there.
like three subsets of warnings.
Yeah,
You'll be put there. But
autopilot disabled for the rest of this drive.
that's right. There is it's certainly interesting. I think that some of this, like I said, it's a mixed bag because
Yeah,
you've got some people that their goal is to have a system that's completely autonomous, which
yeah.
is not sold yet. So
Okay.
this is something I can't get through people's heads is that there is no autonomous system with Tesla. You've got a level 2 system
Right.
that is tracking the road and allowing and assisting you to keep within the lines, keep a safe distance, and still allows you to divert your attention every once in a while.
Yeah.
But you have to be in control of the vehicle because if it is in a situation where it needs to take over, you need to be coherent as to what environment you're in.
I
Not,
think the
well, I
problem is
just finished chapter 3, so,
right.
oh, it's supposed to be take over. What am I doing? Like this,
I
this
think
is
it just means it's
ridiculous.
too good though, because if these people had what I had when FSD first came out, and they would try to kill you once a week, they wouldn't trust that thing.
Well,
Uh, uh,
and some of them don't have the benefit of having to go through the early version. So
the safety
you're
training,
right.
yeah,
That is possibly a problem with it is that the system is good now, and there's a lot less interventions that the human has to take over, and
right,
they begin to be lulled into sleep that this thing is flawless now, and it's
right.
not.
It's
But
it's not automated just yet. I'm that's why I'm curious now who who the drivers were. I hope that like they'll publish that part because we saw a lot of complaints when they did these head to heads. They're like, yeah, in the Tesla, I can only keep my hands off the wheel for 12 seconds. Like they never, when you turn it on, it says keep your hands on the wheel.
there was no time. Yeah,
It should be
exactly.
0 seconds. Whereas now on that first car and the second one, so I've had it now for what 7 days and like 800 miles or more, and I've had my hands on the wheel for a total of 5 minutes since I got the first car. Doesn't mean that I'm not ready to take over, but because it sees that I'm paying attention, it allows me to relax my
Yeah,
body.
it's watching your
Just a bit.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah,
The torque sensor is not what's keeping track of your attention span.
right. I think that
So
one would get a stupendous review, probably like a 98. Like, man, these other systems are trash. I can only keep my hands off the wheel for 15 minutes. This one, it's a whole trip from New York to Florida.
so I'd like to hear from you out there
Yeah.
with Autopilot. What has been your experience? Do you find that you get lulled into sleep a little bit? Do you find that
Not natural sleep,
it's the
but
proper amount of nag? Do
yeah.
you find that what's your experience? What do you think? Put it in the comments. Love to hear from you.
And if you let anybody drive your car without too much explanation, other than here's how you activate the thing with the, I went like that because it's Model 3s, but for me it's this, pull the other trigger. Um, if you let them in the car, just tell them how to turn on autopilot, FSD, whatever, what was their expectation? Were they thinking it was hands-free? I'd like to know that as well.
Yeah, let us know. With that, Casey, any shout-outs?
Yeah, catch us Wednesday, same time, same place for the Tesla Life show. It'll be live. We'll
Absolutely.
be on number 378.
Exactly. And if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. Press subscribe if you haven't already. And you can follow us during the week on our social media feed at the Tesla Life on X and the Tesla Life #1 on Facebook. So please click and follow us there and be up to date with the Tesla news at any point of the week. With that, we will catch you next time, and together we'll find out what's happening in the Tesla Life.
Thanks for coming through.